UFC 295 just happened, and the card overall was pretty good. The prelims weren't great. Now, I did miss pretty much all of the early prelims, so I'm going to have to go back and watch those, but I'll give the prelims that I saw a 4 out of 10, but this main card was amazing. One of the best main cards of the year for sure. Every single fight on the main card ended in a knockout. 3 first-round knockouts and 2 second-round knockouts. And we got 2 new champions, Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira. So overall, I'll give the main card a 9 out of 10. One of the best of the year. And let's start off with that main event where Alex Pereira knocked out Jiri Prochazka in the second round to become a 2-division world champion. Not only is Alex a 2-division UFC champion, but he's also a 2-division Glory kickboxing champion. I think the first and maybe the only one ever. I don't really follow kickboxing too much, so I don't know, so yell at me in the comments if I'm wrong. And his resume in both sports is insane. In kickboxing, he beat Israel Adesanya twice, Simon Marcus twice, Artem Vahidov. He won the middleweight and light heavyweight Glory kickboxing championships, and I believe he defended both belts multiple times. In MMA, he beat Sean Strickland, which in hindsight looks a lot better, with Sean dominating Israel Adesanya and winning the middleweight championship. He's beat the past 2 middleweight champions. You would have to go back like 5 years to 2018 when Rob Whittaker had the belt to find a middleweight champion Alex Pereira didn't beat. He then beat Israel Adesanya, who had never lost at middleweight and is one of the greatest fighters of all time, and arguably the greatest middleweight of all time. I would still have Silva slightly above him, but it's close. Stopped him in the 5th round, then moved up to light heavyweight, beat Jan Blachowicz, who stylistically should be one of the worst matchups for him. A guy with a lot of power, very good striking defense, very good leg kicking defense, a good wrestler, great grappler, went out and beat him, clearly in my opinion, and then beat Jiri Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight title. In 7 UFC fights, he beat 4 world champions. Sean Strickland is a champion, Israel Adesanya was a champion at the time, Jan Blachowicz was a champion, Jiri Prochazka, although technically was a champion, was pretty much looked at as the champion. So in 7 UFC fights and 10 MMA fights, 5 of those fights were against champions, which means that Alex Pereira will go down as one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time. I should make a video on this. I don't know where he would rank because you obviously have the guys who are so great at one sport like George St. Pierre, John Jones, Sugar Ray Robinson, Alexander Karelin. Maybe I'd even throw in guys like Roger Gracie or Marcelo Garcia. And then you have the guys who, although might not be at the top of one sport, did great things in multiple different sports, like Alex Pereira or Henry Cejudo. Maybe even guys like Daniel Cormier or Alistair Overeem you could put on there. It's something I'd have to think about. Let me know if you want a video on that, but let's talk about this actual fight. Now, I did make a breakdown video of this fight. Go back and watch that, so I'm not going to go too in depth here. But Alex looked very good. Jiri looked pretty good too. Both guys fought patient. Definitely respected the power coming back at each other. Alex brutalized Jiri's leg, which sort of threw off Jiri's game plan because Jiri wanted to stay unorthodox and look for that right straight. But because Alex kept throwing that outside leg kick, the second Jiri would switch stances, Jiri had a hard time finding it, but he did connect a few times and he did hurt Alex, which caused Jiri to get a little too aggressive, and Alex caught him with a right hook, left hook combination, which put Jiri down. And I talked about this in the breakdown video. I do think it was an early stoppage, but I'm not too upset at it. And then Alex called out Israel Adesanya. Izzy cannot escape this guy. Alex beat him twice in kickboxing, then followed him over to MMA, knocked him out and took his title. Then moved up to light heavyweight and beat the only other guy to beat Izzy at the time, which was Jan Blachowicz. Then beat Jiri Prochazka to become a 2-division world champion, something Izzy couldn't do when he fought Jan. And then called out Izzy after he beat Jiri to come up to 205 and face him for the belt. And Alex beat Sean Strickland, who just beat Adesanya. So Alex has beat every single guy to beat Izzy. and then called him out and said, "Come to daddy." Now, Izzy's probably not going to fight Alex ever again, especially at 205. And who knows if Izzy will even fight again before Alex retires. Izzy said he's not coming back till 2027, which is 3 years. And I would be surprised if Alex is still fighting by 2027. He'll probably be retired by then. Which means because Jamal Hill vacated the title, Jamal Hill is probably next. And that's a very exciting fight. And if Jamal Hill's healthy, which I've heard he is doing pretty good in his recovery, why not put that fight on at UFC 300? Now, I would definitely favor Alex over Jamal Hill. It's hard for me to see anyone beating Alex on the feet. You got to be a wrestler or a grappler to beat this guy. And in my opinion, his nightmare matchup is Magomed Ankalaev, and Ankalaev is nowhere close to a title shot yet, and it's looking like Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker is going to happen again. Imagine this. Imagine Alex beats Jamal Hill and Johnny Walker beats Ankalaev, which isn't that far outside the realm of possibility. I'll talk about that fight more once it gets announced. And then Alex faces Johnny Walker, which I would definitely favor Alex against Walker. Walker does not have very good striking defense, very dangerous on the feet offensively. But defensively, he's extremely easy to hit. I would definitely favor Alex there. And then Izzy comes up to 205 and faces Alex. And I would definitely favor Alex over Izzy at 205 and probably even 185. And then Alex retires with 3 title defenses, never even having to face Ankalaev or Ricci or any wrestler or grappler of the division. But as for what's next for Jiri Prochazka, I would like to see him fight Jan Blachowicz, whether Blachowicz wins or loses to Ricci. As for who I would favor in that fight, it's tough because Jan can absolutely take Jiri to the ground. Does Jan have the cardio to keep that up for 5 rounds? And Jiri has very good grappling, hard guy to submit. Glover couldn't submit him. And then on the feet, Jan's going to brutalize his leg. Jan has the 2nd best leg kicks in the light heavyweight division behind Alex and is one of the best leg kick defenders. And his overall striking defense is very good, has a very good chin, a lot of power in his hands. The only thing I'm worried about is the cardio, but I would actually probably favor Jan, to be honest. And then we move on to our co-main event. Tom Aspinall knocks out Sergei Pavlovich in the 1st round. Again, I made a breakdown video on this, so I'm not going to go too in-depth, but Tom Aspinall is now the 2nd current British champion. Imagine him and Leon on the same card. If Leon beats Colby, Bilal's probably next, and the UFC might not want to make Leon versus Bilal a main event, which, how could I blame them? So imagine this. We do John Jones versus Tom Aspinall as the main event, and then Leon versus Bilal as the co-main event in London. That would be crazy. Now it seems like John Jones is still going to face Stipe. It seems like that's what he wants, and that's what the UFC wants. I talk about this in my breakdown video, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but John Jones versus Stipe is nowhere near as good of a matchup as Jones versus Aspinall. On the feet, Aspinall has so much power. He's definitely quicker than Jones. Aspinall might be the 2nd quickest guy in the heavyweight division behind Cyril Gane. Now, Jones does have the reach to keep him at bay and use those long arms of his to post away and use his weird head movement to avoid the shots. And then if Jones can take it to the ground, which he probably can, I don't know how Tom Aspinall's takedown defense is, but I would imagine if John Jones can take down Daniel Cormier, he can take down Tom Aspinall. But on the ground, Aspinall is very good. So I have a hard time seeing Jones submitting Aspinall. Aspinall might not be able to submit Jones, but it would be an interesting fight. I would favor Jones ever so slightly, but man, I hope we get that fight. Even if they still do the Stipe fight first, I would love to see Jones stick around and face Tom Aspinall after. And if he doesn't, I guess Aspinall probably just gets upgraded to undisputed and he might defend his interim heavyweight championship. But if the Jones fight is not going to happen and he wants to stay active, who does he face? I guess you probably have to do him versus Cyril Gane. Who deserves a title shot more? Maybe Jalton Almeida, but he's only ranked like number 8. Just fought Sergei Pavlovich. Guys like Curtis Blades are coming off a loss. Maybe do him versus Alexander Volkov, but I don't know. The heavyweight division's a shit show right now. Then we move into Jéssica Andrade knocking out Mackenzie Dern in the 2nd round. That was what I was afraid of. Mackenzie Dern lost her boxing coach, and her boxing looked terrible here. She would walk forward with her chin in the air and just wing punches, and she did catch Jéssica Andrade a few times, but she was never going to beat Andrade in a boxing match. Andrade is way too powerful, way too quick, way too sharp, and Andrade defended the takedowns, but Mackenzie Dern didn't shoot too many. And because she was so terrible defensively on the feet, she got dropped, what, 4 times before getting knocked out. Not a good look from Mackenzie Dern, and Andrade looked pretty decent here. Matt Frevola versus Benoit Saint-Denis was a good fight. It went a lot differently than I expected. Saint-Denis knew he couldn't box with Frevola in the pocket. He's way too wild and Frevola's way too sharp and powerful. So what did he do? He sat at range and kicked at Frevola. Didn't even attempt to box with Frevola, which shows pretty high fight IQ. And then he knocked him out with a great head kick as Frevola moved away. Frevola was ranked 14th. Saint-Denis will now probably jump up into the top 15. You definitely have to look up in the rankings for him. I would like to see him fight maybe Bobby Green or Dan Hooker, whoever wins that fight, or RDA, or potentially Jalen Turner. There's a lot of fun fights you can do with Saint-Denis. And then Matt Frevola, I would love to see him versus Renato Moicano. That would be an insane fight. Next, we go into Diego Lopes knocking out Pat Sabatini. Diego Lopes looks amazing. I don't know how he was an underdog in this fight. Pat Sabatini's a pretty good stylistic matchup, and Diego Lopes made quick work of him. Definitely need to give him a tougher test next. Tabatha Ricci lost to Godinez. Some judge somehow gave it 30-27 to Tabatha Ricci. I thought it was 30-27 Godinez, or at least 28-27. I don't know how you give all 3 rounds to Tabatha Ricci, and the judging on this card was terrible. But Godinez just outboxed her pretty much. Tabatha Ricci's boxing didn't look great. She did drop her once in the first round, and it looked like she dropped her in the second round. I think Godinez just slipped. But I don't know why Tabatha Ricci didn't even attempt any takedowns, really. It maybe shows a lack of fight IQ. And then we move into Mateusz Rębecki versus Roosevelt Roberts. Not much for me to say here. Rębecki looked amazing. His grappling looked good. Got a first-round submission, but respect to Roberts taking this fight on such short notice. Rębecki's a tiny guy. He's, what, 5'6", but he's built like a pit bull. Dude is stocky. And I could definitely see him being a ranked fighter down the road. Then we move on to Nazim Sadykhov versus Borshchev. I thought a draw was the correct decision. Round 1 and 3 for Borshchev and round 2 at 10-8 for Sadykhov. But this fight was insane. Both guys showed their heart and toughness here, and I'm excited to see what happens next. And then the final fight that I saw, Jared Gordon knocks out Mark Madsen. Jared Gordon's looked very good recently. 30-27 Paddy Pimblett, and then looked good against Bobby Green until the illegal strike. In my opinion, he was winning that fight. And then against Mark Madsen, a guy I thought he would lose to, he knocks him out in the first round. I could potentially see Jared Gordon being a low-ranked fighter at some point in his career, and that's all the fights I saw. I missed the first 3 fights on this card. Overall, the card was pretty good, but let's get into my awards. So for my performance of the night bonuses, I'm definitely going to go Tom Aspinall for that first round knockout over Sergei Pavlovich, Jéssica Andrade for that domination of Mackenzie Dern, Benoit Saint-Denis for that first round knockout, Diego Lopes for that first round knockout, and I think that's it. And then for my fight of the night, it was definitely Sadykhov versus Borshchev. But anyways, that is the end of this video. It was a very good card, and we got some good cards coming up, so subscribe so you don't miss those. I have another video or 2 coming out this week, so turn on post notifications if you don't want to miss them. Like the video if you did enjoy. Comment your opinions on this card down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.